The fancy invitation came in the mail on a quiet Thursday. Heavy paper, gold letters, announcing our family's yearly get-together in San Francisco. I held it in my hands, remembering all those awkward family moments, the whispered comments, and fake smiles I'd endured for years. I'm Marina Thompson, but in my business life, people know me as M. Blake. 15 years back, I was the family disappointment. The creative one who said no to joining the family investment firm to chase my dreams and hotel school up in Portland. I was the odd one out with big dreams but no clear path forward.
My phone rang.
It was my cousin Sarah, her voice too cheerful and bright. "Marina, did you see the invitation?" she asked. "Yes, I got it," I replied. "Well, I wanted to mention that this year's event is pretty fancy. The Grand Oceana Resort is really upscale. You know what I mean, right?" I looked out from my corner office at the downtown skyline. I almost started laughing. The Grand Oceana was my first luxury hotel, but my family had no idea. "Are you telling me I don't belong there, Sarah?" I asked. "Don't take it wrong," she said sweetly. "It's just that we'll have famous people there, business leaders, even some politicians. You understand how important image is."
She was talking about me.
She couldn't risk her important friends finding out her cousin used to work at hotel front desks. And who chose this place? I wondered. "I did, obviously," she said proudly. "Dad thinks I'm great at picking luxury spots. The Grand Oceana is the best hotel in the Bay Area. I had to use serious connections to book it." I nearly choked. Her connection came through our booking website. I had personally approved it at a 40% markup. "That must have been tough," I said. "Well, not everyone has my influence," she bragged. "The owner, M. Blake, is very private, but their staff was so helpful when they heard our family name." Of course they were. I had told them to give her the royal treatment. "Anyway," Sarah continued, "I'm sure you get it. Maybe next year, when you've moved up from that little motel you run." That little motel was where I started my entire business empire. "But sure, Sarah, maybe next year." After hanging up, I sat back in my leather chair. The city noise was barely audible through my thick office windows. Memories flooded back. 15 years ago, I graduated from hotel management school with my head full of ideas and zero family support. "You're going to clean rooms for work?" my dad had shouted. No one in our family wears a uniform. But I did. I carried bags, cleaned bathrooms, dealt with angry guests, and trained new workers. I didn't just want to manage hotels. I wanted to change how they worked completely. To do that, I needed to understand every single job. Within 4 years, I opened my first place, a small boutique hotel called the Blue Moon. It was booked solid every weekend. Now at 34, I own 23 luxury resorts across 6 countries. The Grand Oceana, where they're having their reunion, is my pride and joy. It combines California beach style with cutting-edge green technology. It won the Luxury Resort Award 3 times running. And somehow my family thought it was too good for me. My phone buzzed. It was David, my assistant. "The reunion contract needs your signature. Should I bring it up?" I typed back with a smile. "No need. I have special plans for this one." I opened my laptop and started making changes. If they thought I wasn't good enough to attend, they were about to learn what being left out really feels like. When the person who owns the venue controls your guest list, every single detail goes through them. The lighting, the music, the chef's menu, even the scent in the lobby. It was time for a quiet but powerful lesson. I remembered all the times they made me sit at the kids' table well into my 20s. Or worse, at Sarah's wedding, when she accidentally seated me with the parking attendants because she thought I'd feel more comfortable. I owned 12 hotels by then. They never asked questions. They never looked past their old opinion of me. Only my younger sister Emma had stayed close, though she never knew how successful I'd become. She called just as I was finishing the arrangements. "Marina," she said gently, "Sarah told me she asked you not to come." "I'm really sorry." "Don't be. I replied, signing the final papers with a smile. Actually, I need a favor. Can you make sure everyone arrives at exactly 7 tonight?
Why?
What's happening? Let's just say Sarah isn't the only one with connections at the Grand Oceana. The next 2 weeks flew by. I oversaw every detail, down to the color of the flower arrangements. If they were going to exclude me from my own hotel, I was going to give them a night they'd never forget. The evening before the reunion, I stood quietly in the lobby of the Grand Oceana, watching my staff polish the marble floors until they sparkled like mirrors. Light from the crystal fixtures danced across the room, showing off every detail of the ocean-inspired design. White stone pillars, soft gold accents, sea glass decorations. Everything was perfect. David appeared next to me with his tablet. All arrangements are set. The new signs will be revealed at exactly 7:15 tomorrow. Are you sure about this? I didn't hesitate. I thought about Sarah's smug voice on the phone, about years of small insults and cold treatment. Absolutely. After all, it's not every day I get to welcome my family to my own resort. I smiled, already imagining their faces when they learned the truth. Tomorrow would change everything. At exactly 6:45 the next evening, I stood in my private suite on the top floor, watching security cameras as people arrived. They came like clockwork, designer purses, expensive shoes clicking, fancy watches gleaming, everyone trying to outshine each other in a shallow display of wealth. Sarah strutted in wearing a red designer dress, giving orders like she owned the place. She posed by the flower display, ready for photos. My father's black luxury car pulled up next, followed by expensive cars full of aunts, uncles, and cousins I hadn't seen since I was the family failure. Everything's ready, David said, looking at his screen. Staff knows their timing. Want security on standby. I shook my head. No need. Our family wouldn't dare ruin their own fancy image. I adjusted my dark gray suit, custom-made. Not that any of them would believe I knew designer brands, let alone owned more of them than half the room. Let them get comfortable, I said. This is going to be interesting. In the grand ballroom, the reunion buzzed with champagne and self-congratulations. Sarah bragged near the fountain, retelling her story about booking the venue. My father circled with old business friends, probably boasting about his investments. My cousins posed by the Grand Oceana signs like it somehow made them more important. At 7:10, right on schedule, the hotel manager approached Sarah. Miss Thompson, I'm afraid there's a small issue with your booking. Sarah's polished smile faded. Excuse me. I arranged this directly with your main office. Yes, ma'am, the manager replied. It's just that the owner had some special instructions for tonight. Sarah laughed, waving her manicured hand. Please, I seriously doubt Blake has time to worry about party details. A hush fell over the room as I stepped forward from the back of the ballroom. Actually, I said calmly, Blake does care about quite a few things. Silence fell like a heavy blanket. Every head in the ballroom turned toward me. The forgotten cousin, the so-called embarrassment, now standing at the entrance of the most elite resort on the West Coast, dressed in a tailored suit that probably cost more than Sarah's entire outfit. Marina, my father's voice cut through the quiet. What are you doing here? She told me I couldn't afford to come, I said flatly, stepping forward. She was worried I'd embarrass the family. Sarah's face turned red. This is a private event. I'll have security remove you. No, I said calmly. You won't. At that moment, David, standing quietly by the sound system, tapped his tablet. The huge screen behind the ballroom stage lit up. First, the Grand Oceana Resort logo appeared, followed by bold letters that read, Owned and operated by Marina Thompson Blake, founder and CEO Blake Hospitality Group. A gasp echoed across the ballroom. Glasses clinked. Somewhere near the fountain, someone dropped silverware. Sarah's champagne glass slipped from her hand and shattered on the marble floor. That's impossible, she stammered. Would you like to see my business card? I offered sweetly, holding up the sleek case in my hand. Or maybe the property deed? My father stepped forward, eyes wide, voice low. You own this place? And 22 other properties. I nodded. Though this one is special. It's where I began my career. Back when you said I was wasting my life cleaning hotel rooms. The memories came flooding back. Sarah sneering at my housekeeping uniform. My aunts whispering that I'd given up. Cousins leaving me out of photos like I didn't belong. All those years, I continued, letting the words sink in. You looked down on me, but you never once looked up. I turned to Sarah. The tiny motel you love to make fun of? That was my test property, my innovation lab, the foundation of what this industry now calls the gold standard. David stepped forward, placing elegant folders into the hands of key family members. These, he said, contain the real story behind Blake Hospitality Group and the bill for tonight's event. Sarah grabbed hers, flipping through it with shaking hands. Her eyes widened. This rate is way above normal. About 40% above, I confirmed. A family discount, if you will. From the back of the room, Emma burst into laughter. A few others followed, awkward at first, then louder as the tension broke. My father looked at me, jaw tight. Why didn't you ever tell us? I met his gaze. Would you have believed me? He said nothing. No one did. But in that moment, the silence said everything. 15 years ago, you told me no daughter of yours would ever work in a hotel. I said, my voice steady but clear. Well, you were right about one thing. I don't work in a hotel. I paused, then smiled. I own them. Around the room, every screen came to life. Beautiful views of my resorts worldwide flickered across the ballroom. The golden glow of our overwater bungalows in the tropical islands. The snow-covered elegance of our Swiss mountain retreat. The towering grandeur of our glass-front property in Dubai where the city's skyline stretched like a crown. As for tonight's reunion, I added smoothly, your reservation hasn't been canceled. You're welcome to stay. In fact, I've arranged a private tour of the property. I think it's time you all saw what a career in hospitality really looks like. Sarah took a step forward, her polished act cracking. Marina, we never meant. I cut her off gently, but firmly. Yes, you did. Every joke. Every time you left me out of the photo. Every time I was treated like the help. I looked around the room, voice lifting just slightly. But while you were busy protecting your status, I was busy building a legacy. Welcome to the Grand Oceana. The crowd stirred. My team will show you to your upgraded suites. Though, Sarah, I added, turning slightly, your room had to be changed last minute due to a VIP booking. We had to place you in one of our standard rooms. Her face flushed deep red. The same room type she once mocked me for cleaning. As the family followed staff to their rooms, some in awkward silence, others nervously whispering, my father stayed behind. I was wrong, he said, his voice unusually soft. About everything. I studied him for a long moment. The man who once put down my choices now looked small, uncertain. Yes, I said quietly. But do you want to know the best part of owning 23 hotels, Dad? He raised an eyebrow. I've got 23 presidential suites. You can pick any one of them to stay in while you figure out how to make things right. A faint smile tugged at his lips. Where'd you learn to negotiate like that? Probably the same place I learned real leadership, by starting at the bottom. Something this family never had to do. That night, after the private tours and quiet conversations had ended, I stood in my penthouse suite overlooking the San Francisco skyline. David entered with a folder in hand. Tonight's final numbers, he said. Your family seems humbled. I laughed. Amazing what a little perspective can do. Are you going to tell them? He asked. About Paris, Tokyo, the new developments? I turned to the desk where contracts sat, ready to be signed. Not yet, I smiled. Let them be surprised. The Grand Oceana was just the beginning. I leaned against the floor-to-ceiling window of my penthouse. My reflection was framed by the skyline I used to only dream of. The journey from scrubbing floors to signing international deals hadn't been easy, but it had been worth it. Success, I realized, was never about getting back at people. It wasn't about proving my family wrong.
It was about proving myself right.
And sometimes the sweetest kind of revenge isn't cold at all. It's warm, luxurious, served with a rooftop breakfast and a view that takes your breath away. My phone buzzed. A text from Sarah. Can we talk tomorrow, please? I smiled, typed back a simple line. Of course. Your breakfast reservation is at 9. I own that restaurant too. There was power in simplicity, not just in money or property or fame, but in being seen finally for who I truly was. Not the help, not the outsider, not the family joke, but Marina Blake, the woman who built something real. The woman who wasn't invited to the reunion because she was too busy hosting it. As I looked out at the city and the glowing signs of the Grand Oceana below, I felt it in my chest, that sense of calm, of closure, of purpose. Tomorrow would bring the next chapter in our family story. Not one built from old money or empty pride, but from something earned. Because at the end of the day, every great hotel knows the secret. It's not just about providing a bed. It's about giving people something they'll never forget. And tonight, my family would remember.